Hello, aunties and uncles. It's little Lila. Say hi, Lila Bell. She's a little bit hungry, guys. She has jaundice, so she's looking a little bit orange, yellow. It's really common with Asian babies. But you guys get to see her again. Okay, I'm gonna pass it to Alfred. She's hungry. He's just gonna give her the bottle so I can continue with this video. You take her, Daddy.
Give it to me.
Today I found some time to sit down and answer your questions about my birth experience. In my previous video, I uploaded my very raw and real birth vlog where you saw me labor and deliver. And so I grabbed a bunch of questions from there and I'll be answering them today. The first question is, what do contractions feel like? They feel like a bad period cramp. Well, they start off feeling like a bad period cramp. You can see in my birth vlog that I'm able to still talk in between these contractions. They're not really bad. It's just like a bad period cramp, very bearable. And then as you progress further into your labor, it gets a little bit more intense. I'd say like first it starts off a little bit higher, the stomach ache or the cramp, and then it gets lower and more intense. And what I didn't know is that contractions, they come in waves. So initially I just thought like you just have a very bad stomach ache or cramp and then it kind of just tapers off. But it actually comes in waves. So it starts off not really that painful. There's just like a little cramp and then a bigger one comes and then a bigger one comes, and then a really big one comes, and then it tapers off and it kind of like reverses. So it comes in waves, which I found surprising because I didn't realize that's how contractions were. Was labor as bad as you had imagined? The majority of my labor really was not that bad. I could definitely do that part again. As you saw in the video, I'm quite calm, I'm quite chill, and especially because I'm at home and I had my doula with me and I just felt very supported. I didn't feel like scared about giving birth. For the majority of the part at home, it was fine. It was only when we started making our way to the hospital that things got a lot more intense. When I got to the hospital, I didn't really imagine that I would like progress so quickly and that it'd be that intense. So yeah, it did surprise me because honestly I have no other experience I can compare it to, or I've never been through anything that painful. I don't want to use the word painful, but you know what I mean, like I've never experienced that sensation before. Why did you choose to have a non-medicated birth? A part of me, I've always just wanted to in a way. I think because like my mum, my grandma, like everyone before me kind of gave birth without interventions and non-medicated. And so a part of me just really wanted to experience and feel what it feels like. I don't know if that sounds bizarre because I know a lot of people would be like, no, sign me up for the epidural, sign me up for the C-section. But for me, I felt like it was a challenge and I just wanted to experience it. And plus I did do my research in regards to, you know, the pros and cons of medicated versus non-medicated. You know, like everyone has different types of birth and there's no right or wrong. It's just like you want to just choose what you think is best for you and your baby. And for me, I just felt like what's going to be best for me and my baby's health is non-medicated. So it doesn't lead to other like interventions, which is quite common sometimes when you have like an epidural. The baby's heart rate could drop and some people have to do like an emergency C-section and just all this stuff. So I did a lot of research. I watched a lot of non-medicated birth vlogs and water births, and when I met with my doula and engaged her services, she actually kind of like opened this other side of birth that I didn't really know. Like a lot of us would picture birth as what we see in like Hollywood movies, like really traumatic, like the mum sweating and pushing and screaming. And even though there are some births like that, not all of them are like that. And so when I met with Chantel, my doula, and we did our like birthing classes with her, she showed Alfred and I some really like relaxing birth videos, and I was like, wow, like birth is such like a beautiful experience and it's something that I want, and if these women can do it non-medicated, I think I can too. And so that's why I opted for, you know, what type of birth I had. And I'm glad that my birth plan and how my birth was the same. Did the water birth make it easier? Well, I have nothing to compare it to because I've never given birth like just on land or in the bed, but according to my research, it is a lot more gentle for the baby because inside the belly, they're in like the amniotic fluid, so in water. And so when they come out, they're also in water. I also read that it does reduce the ring of fire, which is like the sensation of when the baby's head is crowning down there and you're pushing. And for my experience, I wouldn't say I experienced the ring of fire, but there was definitely like a lot of tension, a lot of stretching happening down there, and it was a very intense sensation, I'm not gonna lie, but I didn't experience like any like severe burning, if you know what I mean. So I do think that the water birth did help me with that. And also when I started getting these like more intense contractions, when I was like 10 centimeters dilated and ready to push, when I went to the water, I felt my body relax a lot more. I don't know if it's just like the buoyancy and stuff, and it's just being in the water, it's a bit more soothing and relaxing. I would definitely do like a water birth again. How long was your labor? All up, I think I labored for about 10 hours, which wasn't too bad because a majority of it was at home and the last like 2 and a bit was at the hospital. So it was good. I definitely appreciated that I was able to labor at home for most of it because that's where you're comfortable. You know, it's like your surrounding. When you're at the hospital, it can be a bit like just like a new environment, different people coming in and out. So it could be like a little bit different. And a lot of the time, a lot of mums, when they get to hospitals, their progress or contractions kind of stall down a bit because you're in a new environment. Thankfully, I was able to labor at home for a majority of it. What was the hardest moment of labor? Thinking back, I would say the hardest part of labor was when I reached the hospital and I got strapped up to the CTG machine, which is like a monitoring machine for the baby, like the heart rate, and then they can monitor your contractions as well. So they strap that thing around your belly, and I had to lay there for a half an hour. After that, when the nurse checked me, I literally thought I was like almost there, but when she checked me, I was only 3 centimeters dilated, and I was like, oh my gosh, really? I thought I'd be almost there because it was getting quite intense. I didn't feel like I had much of a break. At that point, I was just like, okay, I need to like chill. I need to relax and then just let my body do its thing instead of like tensing up. Not that I was trying to tense up before or anything. Like throughout my whole labor, I just wanted my body to do its thing and just relax and not like trigger my fight or like adrenaline hormone, because that actually makes the pain a lot worse. And I feel like I had more of like a calm, relaxing labor because I let my body do its thing. And so after I found out I was 3 centimeters, and I was just like, you could see in my birth log, I'm like, I've got my like eye shades on. I'm like trying to just like picture positive things, picture like my cervix opening up, a flower blooming, and then listening to positive birthing affirmations. Within that hour, I got to 8 centimeters, and that was so intense. Before the nurse checked me the second time, when I was having my contractions, I could feel my body kind of like shake and kind of bear down a little bit, and I couldn't control it. There was just like a lot of pressure towards my butt, surprisingly. It's not like I felt it at the front, it was more like behind, and every time I felt the contraction, my body would kind of like jolt like this, and I'd like bear down, and I honestly was kind of like shaking in between, and I couldn't control it. It was really weird. And I remember twice like thinking, oh my God, what are you doing, Tina? Like, it would be so much easier if you just got the epidural. Like, what were you thinking? And that was like the 2 times that I doubted myself, or kind of like I was having this conversation in my head. Before that, I was just like, I could do this. But then that thought came into my head. I was like, why don't I just get the epidural? And then I knew from that point, from watching other people's birth vlogs and birth videos, that when you're thinking about, oh, maybe I should like get the epidural, or, you know, ask for some medication to relieve this pain, that's usually when like you're towards the end already. And so I just like had this debate in my head, and I was just like, oh, but I can't get an epidural because my contractions are so close. There's no way I can get that needle in my back and sit still for it. And then also like, oh, I'm having these thoughts. That means I'm like near the end. I can do this. Luckily for me, that I never really voiced it out to like my doula or Alfred. I just like had this conversation inside, and thankfully the positive Tina won that conversation. I was just like, I can do this. And I literally said that. I'm like, I can do this. And then I remember Alfred saying it with me. And so that one moment of doubt, that would be the hardest part. Did you feel any pain down there right after the baby came out? Did I feel any pain? No. Surprisingly, like after you go through that intense push and you're able to birth the baby's head, the body, and you're holding your baby in your arm, or when I was holding Lila, I was just like relieved. You can see it in my face that I'm like exhausted, but I'm just like in awe. I'm like almost in shock as well, because I was like, I can't believe I just did that. Did I just do that? Is it over? I'm like, oh my gosh. Like I'm just like thinking of all these like things in my head, and then looking down at my baby, and I'm so in love, and I have Alfred next to me. It was just overwhelming. You don't feel any pain. After that, I actually had to get out of the tub, like holding Lila, still with her umbilical cord and my placenta inside, and then go and walk to the bed and jump on the bed and then, you know, birth my placenta. Well, that was okay. Like once she was out, there was no more like crazy contractions that I had to deal with, no more intense pressure or urge to push down there. I just had to go lay in the bed and then admire my baby. Did you poop during your birth? Thank goodness I didn't. And it was thanks to like when I had like that first few contractions, I guess after my water broke, I felt I needed to just clear down there. And so I went before that. And yeah, I didn't, surprisingly. But honestly, when you're pushing, or when I was pushing, I felt like I was gonna poop. Like I felt like I was doing the biggest poop of my life. Like I felt all the pressure like on my butt, not really like at the front, like I mentioned before. And it was bizarre. It was hard. Yeah, I just felt a lot of pressure. But yeah, thankfully I didn't poop. That would be really messy in the water. Ugh. Did the comb help with the pain? How many teeth did you break? So if you watch my birth vlog, I think when I'm on like the bed, like when my contractions started getting really intense, after I was like 8 centimeters dilated, going to 10, I had this comb that I was holding. Alfred had bought it because we had watched like other birth vlogs. I guess it's like a technique to cope with the pain, because when you're like grabbing onto the teeth of the comb or like holding it tightly, the pain of that actually kind of travels faster to your brain than the pain of your contractions. So when a contraction would come, I would like squeeze that comb. It did definitely help because I was concentrating on that sensation rather than that. But honestly, afterwards, like it was so intense that I didn't think it made like a huge difference towards the end. But I didn't break any of my comb's teeth. I wasn't that strong with it. Can you share your experience of having a doula? How did your doula help you during and after birth? So a doula, for those of you guys who don't know, is like a birth support person. So obviously you have your partner there, but the doula specializes and kind of knows more about like body and birth and different positions to help you labor and pain relief. So you can see my doula Chantel in my vlog. She'll do like a bunch of different techniques. She was pressing on my hips to relieve the pain as a contraction would come. She had the TENS machine. She did the rice and a sock just as a heat pack on my back, and there was just a lot of things. So having her during my labor was key. I felt like I wouldn't be able to do or have my birth the way I wanted to without her, because obviously Alfred wouldn't know what to do, and with her, like I didn't have to say anything. She just knew, like she can just tell like what stage I was in according to, I guess, like how my mood was or how I was sounding. I remember her checking up on me when I was on the bed and my groans or moans were getting a little bit louder and more intense, and she's like, do you feel a lot of pressure down there? I'm like, yeah, I feel a lot of pressure. She's like, do you need a push? I'm like, I feel like I'm on the verge of this. And then once I started like screaming, she was like, okay, she's in active labor. She needs, like, we need to call the doctor to come. And she actually called my doctor before the nurses, because the nurses were just like, they were there, but they weren't monitoring me as close as my doula. And because my doula had been with me through like beginning of my labor, she kind of knew like where I was at. And so she actually called my doctor to come, and that's why he kind of just made it when I needed to push. So having her was honestly a lifesaver. After giving birth, she was really helpful too, because she helps the baby latch, and she explained to me like what to do, like, oh, now I just do skin to skin. Also, when I came back home, she did a home visit with me, and she's gonna be here supporting me until the baby is 1, and that's just the services that she provides. So she is amazing. If you guys are in Singapore and you're looking for a birth doula, look up Blooming Births. Chantel is amazing. I actually want to film a Q&A video with Chantel because she's so experienced, and I know there was like a lot of questions that you guys submitted, and I think they'll be perfect for Chantel to answer since she supported so many women in their births. So if you guys have any additional questions that you want to ask her, let me know, or just leave them below so then I can collect them and then we can answer it in a future video with Chantel. Did you birth your placenta or was it removed, to put it nicely? Now, after I gave birth and I hopped onto the bed and I was just holding Lila, like your legs are just like up on these things to like keep your legs apart, and there's this like bright light and my doctor's just like doing his thing down there. I don't remember like birthing it per se, like I didn't feel like I had a contraction like what I had with Lila, but I did feel like, it felt like he was kind of like pulling it out, and it was quite big. Like I did feel the sensation of it coming out, but it was so quick that I wouldn't say it was like super painful or anything. And plus you're just like, your hormones are going crazy and you're just like full of oxytocin looking at your baby, so you don't really notice what's happening down there. What did you do with your placenta? Did you eat it? I know a lot of women out there, like they do keep their placenta, either they blend it up, put it in their shakes, make it into pills, but I didn't do any of that. I mean, I just took photos of my placenta, had a look at it and was like, cool. And I didn't do anything with it. I guess they just discarded it. So yeah. Did you tear down there or get any stitches? I did have a small tear and had to get one stitch, but it was not bad at all. Healing was fine. I think there was like a little bit of swelling, so I just had one of those icicle pads that the hospital gives you, and I think I used like 3 of them, and then the doctor said like, yeah, the swelling's gone down. Everything was fine. There was no stinging sensation when I went to pee or anything. The only thing that was a little bit uncomfortable was like my tailbone. For some reason, I felt like it was bruised. So when I'd lay down or sit for a long time and get up, I could feel like unpleasant bruised sensation on my tailbone. So that was not fun. That actually lasted longer than any of the pain elsewhere. Do you feel like the Epino helped you with your birth? So I did mention in my preparation for birth that I was using the Epino to stretch the skin down there, and I got to about 9, almost 9.5 centimeters before I gave birth, and I really think that helped. And I remember like when my doctor was stitching me up, I was like, did I tear a lot? And he was like, no, you only have a tiny tear. And I was like, oh, does that mean the Epino worked? And he was like, yes, it definitely worked. So if you are planning for a vaginal birth, definitely take the time to stretch that area out. If you don't want to have any severe tearing, I'd highly recommend it. And I know when you buy the Epino, I think you can use it for 2 births. It's a little bit of an investment, but it's worth it. So that definitely helped me. How long were you in the water before the baby came out? I wasn't in the water for very long. I think I pushed for 15 minutes. I don't think I was even pushing for 15 minutes. I did like a couple pushes, but guys, like I almost did not make it in the water because I was on that bed. Initially, I wanted to labor in the water for longer instead of just only delivering the baby. But as I was on the bed experiencing these contractions, whenever I like got up with my doula and Alfred like on either side of me to go to the tub to labor, a contraction would come and I'd have to lay back down. Like I just really couldn't walk to the tub. And when I was already 10 centimeters dilated and they said, look, the tub's ready, you can like go in there now, in my mind I was like, oh my god, I need to use this tub, I need to use this tub, because I had to pay an extra $4,000 for a water birth, and if I didn't use it I'd still have to pay for it. So in my mind I was like, oh my god, Tina, you paid $4,000 extra for this tub, you're gonna have to use it. And so I mustered all my power to get up, take those few steps, and then I had a contraction when I was standing there. I had a contraction, breathed through that, and then made it in the water. I was like relieved. I was like, oh my gosh, I made it. I made it. And it was definitely worth it. How did you feel down there when she was coming out? When I was ready to push, I just felt immense pressure. Even if I didn't push, I think my body would naturally do that and like bear down. And I just knew like it was just so different to just like a normal contraction. I could kind of feel her come down as I was having the contractions. But when I was ready to push, like it just feels like you need to do the world's biggest poop and you just cannot stop it. You know, you got to just work with your body. If you heard me scream, I was like Xena the Warrior Princess. It was intense and it was tiring because by then, like I've been having these contractions and they were so close together, and like a lot of people that would tell you like you just want to break, like you just like, I just need to catch my breath. I had to focus all my energy into just pushing, and I can feel her head coming down. I could feel her crowning, like I knew there was something between my legs, like she was there, and I had no energy left. Like I had been screaming and just pushing. The nurse is just like, just one more. And I remember when I kind of stopped that last push, I could feel her head kind of go back in, and in my mind I'm like, no, do not go back up. And so I was like, okay, let's just like find that energy. And then I did like one last push and her head came out, and I just felt relieved, but then not super relieved because I could feel like she was like just between my legs and there was like the rest of her body to go. And my doctor was like, okay, take a deep breath, let me know when you're ready to push again. And I was just like, I can do this. Took a deep breath, did the biggest push and scream, as you guys saw, and she was out. So it honestly happened so quick and it was really intense. It's something I could definitely do again. Like it's not that impossible. I feel like a lot of people think birthing is impossible, but your body just knows what to do. That's the incredible thing about our female bodies. Your body knows how to birth a baby, and your baby works with you. And so I was really blessed and pleased and happy and honestly over the moon about that. How much did it cost to deliver the baby, hospital fees, etc.? Well, in Singapore, it's pretty expensive if you're going like private, but luckily I did have insurance. With my insurance, you have to have like a 1-year waiting period. I think that's really common with a lot of like maternity insurance, but if I kind of break down the costs for the hospital, it was like about $9,000, and I gave birth at the only hospital that has like a water birthing facility, which is at Thomson if you're in Singapore. I think their normal delivery is about $6,000 or like $5,000, and the water birth is an additional $4,000 on top with the delivery fees. Like for my doctor, it was expensive. I think it was like ten and a half thousand, because he charges you like for the delivery, and then when he comes to see you like the next 2 days and checks up on you, there's like additional fees for that. With my doctor, he is like more specialized in natural births. For my doula, I went with a package that was about $2,600, which is like a very like all-rounded package, which included lessons, birth support, home visits. So it was the full shebang. So all up, it was pretty expensive, but thankfully I had insurance. So FYI, if you want to get pregnant, or if you're planning to, look up some maternity insurance and coverage like in your country, in your area, and see what's best for you. Otherwise, I think if I was back in Australia, it'd be, I could go the public system and it'd be a lot cheaper, but just because I'm an expat in Singapore, I opted for this option. If you had another child, would you do anything different in terms of the birth plan? I would do something different. I think I'd opt for a home birth. Just now knowing what to expect and what my body goes through, I would probably just want to do the whole thing at home, hire a tub, and then have my doula over and then my doctor there, which is actually not that uncommon, especially during like COVID times. A lot of people gave birth at home, and I did watch a lot of birth vlogs. I just didn't feel that confident doing it for my first child because I didn't know what to expect. And when you're at the hospital, if anything happens and this intervention's needed, everything's there. But I think for my second child, I would probably opt for a home water birth, just because I know what to expect and I can just labor at home for the whole thing. Now, you guys had a few questions for Alfred, so I'll get him in to answer them.
Hello.
How did Alfred feel throughout your birth?
This is such a vague question.
Okay, what was going through your mind as I was laboring and you kind of would hear me like scream?
I was fine, honestly. Like I thought I would be like nervous, scared, anxious, like all those like bad emotions. But I think because we've been watching so many like videos about pregnancy, so I kind of like know what to expect. The doula helped as well, so
yeah, Chantel
like
was
I
good.
felt really prepared mentally. So even though like I heard you screaming, like I wasn't processing that as like you were in pain. It was just like
it's just a part of
you
it.
releasing energy.
Yeah.
So I like honestly I was fine, but I think that's because I had prepared myself for it.
Yeah. And then like, how did you feel when you saw baby's head pop out?
I guess I was like excited.
Because you were behind me, and actually we have a recording on our phones of like her head out, and you were able to film and everything. Like you were like...
It was like a bit weird because like it was like it was in the bathtub, so like I could see like the head and the hair was like...
She was full of hair and her hair was just like floating in the water.
Normally I think I would be freaking out because I'm like, this baby's like underwater, it's suffocating. But we asked all these questions well before the birth. Yeah, like I wasn't scared. I was like really excited.
Yeah. FYI, my mum asked this question, was like, how can like the baby be birthed in the water and not suffocate? Well, because like I mentioned before, when they're in your belly, they're in liquid. So when they come out and they're like immersed in liquid immediately and then in the air, only when they hit the air, that's when their lungs start working. So you can't have the baby like hit there and then come back down in the water. That is a no-go. But if they get birthed in water and then like held up into the air, that's fine. But yeah, that my mum had that question. How did you feel when you saw Lila?
Man, emotional, I think.
You guys could see how emotional Alfred
I cried.
was.
But I always told you, like, as soon as I see her, I think I'm gonna cry. Yeah, I just like fell in love with her as soon as I saw her. So I was like super happy. I'm like getting emotional thinking about it
I know,
now.
like when we think about it, and even when I watch our birth vlog again, it's just like, wow, like I can't believe we went through that. And I remember at the hospital, we were just like in awe. We're like, I can't believe this just happened. We have a baby now. And it's just like a life-changing experience.
For
like,
sure.
Definitely. What was your initial thought when I said I wanted a water birth and I wanted non-medicated and just go all natural?
I think my initial reaction was like, why? But then it was because I just didn't know any better. It's like, why would you want to put yourself
through that pain when there's medicines that can help you?
It makes sense, like the reasons why you want to do it. So I full-heartedly support that. And I knew you were like strong enough to go through that anyway, like quite strong-minded. So if anyone was going to do it, it'd be you.
Yeah, and I think out of most of our friends as well, I think I was the only one that wanted to do it like hippie style and just do it all natural and go old school. How do you guys feel being parents now? We feel tired and sleep deprived. I actually think the birth was the easy part, and
For sure.
taking care of the
100%.
baby is so much harder. Breastfeeding is a lot harder, like getting used to this new routine and then feeding schedule is a lot harder. And just having that responsibility to take care of this human, they're just a part of you forever. So birth is actually the easiest part when it comes to having a kid.
Yeah, thinking back now, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Because I now crave sleep.
Yeah. Another thing is like, I did so much to prepare for the birth that I feel like you can never do enough to prepare yourself as being a parent, because you just honestly don't know what to expect. There's so many things to consider and you don't know what your baby's going to be like until they come, right? So it's been like a hard couple of weeks, but everyone says, don't worry, it gets better. So we're all just
waiting for that.
We're just hanging on, waiting for that. But yeah, we are so in love with Lila. She is incredible. She's amazing.
Sure. Yeah, like you have all those hard times. I don't know, you're just trying to put her down, trying to settle her. She's crying. You don't know what to do. You're like getting frustrated. But then she does like a little smile and you're like,
oh,
okay.
It's all worth it.
Yeah.
It's so cliche, but it is. It's like one of the hardest things we've ever done like so far. And I think like it's the most rewarding experience.
Yeah.
So props to all the parents out there, all the mums and dads. You guys are the best. I honestly didn't know what to expect entering this new world, but hey, we're on it for the long run. We're in it to win it. But no, what do you
We're in it for the long run.
We're in it for the long run. That's exactly what I was referring to. Anyways, I think that's it to this birth Q&A. If there's any other questions, like I mentioned, I do want to film a video with my doula. So now is your chance to ask all those birth questions, the TMI questions that you've been wanting to ask. But yeah, I think we need to get back to our baby now. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. Thank you so much for all those wonderful messages on our birth vlog. It's just so incredible to take you guys along this journey with us, even though it was very emotional, it was very, very loud. Apologies for those eardrums, rest in peace. But yeah, we're glad to have you join us for the experience. Anyways, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, YouTube has a new function called Super Thanks where you can support and donate to your favorite creators. You can write a personal message as well, which will be included in their comments section. I guess that is it from us. We shall speak to you guys next time. Bye!
Ba-dum-bum, doo-doo, 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 ba-dum-bum, doo-doo, doo-doo.